So welcome back to some more Grand Theft Auto Vice City. In this part, we will be completing the 3 RC Vehicle Top Fun Van missions, which are a requirement to complete in order to get your percentage points for 100%, and we begin here with the RC Bandit Race, which is the first of 2 different missions that we will be completing on Vice City East, and the third and final RC Vehicle mission is located on Vice City West, which I find that one to be the more annoying mission to complete out of all 3 of these different missions because of how long it takes to complete it, and then you combine that, the longevity of the mission, with the subpar controls of the RC Raider that you use during that mission, and it just creates this giant nuisance of a mission, which is very unfun to complete, and it's especially unfun in comparison to these first 2 missions, and especially in comparison to this first mission that we're doing. I love this first mission right here because of 2 things. First off, it's a race, which I'm a big fan of races, especially because I had some Cheez-Its fairly recently, but I also like this mission because we're using the RC Bandit, which has like this nostalgic appeal to me because in Grand Theft Auto 3, it was the main focus of a series of side missions in that game in which you would use this thing to act like a mobile bomb to destroy gang vehicles with. It was a lot of fun, and the way it worked is that you would also enter a creepy looking van parked somewhere. So in that game they were called Toys in the Hood vans, and in this game they're obviously called Top Fun vans, but the idea was the same in that you enter this parked van and you're given a side mission, and what that side mission was destroying gang vehicles in a certain amount of time, and depending on where you're parked, that's what determined what gang vehicle your target was. So I remember the van in St. Mark's, which is the one that I would replay over and over again, but the van in St. Mark's in Portland was in Mafia territory, so you would have to destroy Mafia Sentinels in the amount of time that you were given, so it was just fun replaying that mission over and over again for countless hours as a kid, just trying to beat my high score. And even when I wasn't doing that, but still doing the mission, I would just try exploding as many cars as I could, period, and pedestrians too. And then once the mission was over, once the time ran out, I would exit the van and collect all the money and weapons and stuff from all the pedestrians and just kind of look at the explosions and the car shells everywhere. It was just a fun little experience. It was like an arcade style of gameplay. It was a lot of fun doing that, and it retains its funness here in Vice City, in which we're using it to race against other RC bandits. And what's fantastic about this is that it uses the same controls as a normal car would, so the only thing that you're dealing with here is different attributes, just like how you would if you were entering a different vehicle from what you were using. I mean, it's really nice here, and this little sand track area is pretty cool. Again, you're dealing with a situation where the edges of the track can kind of veer you off and spin you out and stuff if you hit them at the wrong angle, so that's something to watch out for. The handbrake is your best friend when performing on that track, but anyways, we have now moved on to the RC Baron race, which I think might trigger a few people who have played San Andreas at least a decent amount, to where they've done a handful of missions in San Fierro, because there's this one mission strand there that's given to you by a character named Zero, and one of the missions is called Supply Lines, which features using an RC Baron to shoot down couriers who are doing business for a rival of Zero's, and it's like, the mission is made out to be this super impossible and insanely annoying thing, which I agree with the annoying part. It is super, super terrible in that regard, but I don't think it's impossible or anything like that. But the point I'm kind of getting to here is that I don't think the RC Baron is as bad here as it is in San Andreas because of the whole gas mechanism that's involved in San Andreas, so you don't have to worry about gliding everywhere. But real quick, I want to point out that the way I got my clean takeoff to start off this mission was by holding down the acceleration or X button and the up directional button at the same time from the moment I saw that 3, 2, 1 timer pop up. But as long as you start holding down those buttons before it counts down all the way, you should be fine. And I just see a lot of people like spazzing out when they're taking off, but that kind of negates that from happening by just holding down those 2 buttons from the get-go. So once the plane starts taking off, you can release the up directional button and then just start tapping the appropriate directional buttons to get the plane to like level out and go to where you want it to go. So there aren't really too many moments where you need to hold down the directional buttons. There will be this strategy I'll be using during the final stretch of the mission that involves holding down 2 particular directional buttons, the up and down ones, because I'll be doing like this swooping thing to collect the checkpoints, and it's a really nice little strategy, I think, that I read up on the wiki that you can do to grab those checkpoints fairly easily, because if you didn't notice, there's a lot of different things that you can crash into, like palm trees, streetlights, stoplights, and things like that. So by swooping, you avoid doing all that because you gain an insane amount of height, and then you just kind of drop down and swoop down when the checkpoints come close to you, so you can just grab them really quickly, and then you just gain a lot of height really quickly again, and then you just rinse and repeat that process. So you'll see it in action right here, but there are some moments where you do have to make like sharp turns and stuff, but besides that, for the majority of the mission, it's just a bunch of tapping, and right here is the whole swooping thing I was talking about, because there's a lot of different places in there where you can bump into palm trees and the billboard and stuff, so yeah, this kind of prevents you from having to fly through that mess down there. But one thing I will mention that I mentioned in my Zero Missions part for San Andreas is that you gotta compare the process of flying one of these RC Barons to the process of making passionate love to a gorgeous woman. I mean, it's like you gotta tap the buttons, you gotta find that sweet spot, play around a bit, play around with the buttons, you know? It's like you gotta make sure that everybody involved is a happy camper, the woman and the RC Baron. You gotta make sure the RC Baron is level. You gotta make sure the lady is into it, you know? You don't just kind of do your own thing. You gotta compromise, make sure everyone's happy, and that's what makes it better. When both parties are involved, it's a fantastic thing. I mean, and that's the same case for the RC Baron too. You gotta make sure the plane is level and whatnot. So the main point here is to tap the damn buttons, because now I'm starting to sound like that one dude who I mentioned in a previous part where he's like in a relationship with his car and stuff. You know, I'm starting to sound like that. But anyways, though, we've moved on now to the RC Raider pickup mission, which I think is the worst one because it takes forever to complete, and the controls of this little helicopter aren't exactly the greatest in the world. It's kind of annoying trying to turn in this thing, but overall, it's just an annoying mission. I really don't like it all that much, and there are moments where this thing can get stuck in the ground because there are going to be checkpoints underneath planes, and it's like, you gotta really take your time there with the planes, because if you hit the bottom of the plane with the top of the helicopter, you might get pushed into the ground, and then the helicopter might start spazzing out and stuff, and it'll catch on fire and explode, so you'll have to redo the entire mission. It's so annoying when that happens. So I suppose a good idea in situations where you have a plane and a checkpoint under it is to take your time, which I know it already seems like you're taking your time because of how slow this damn thing moves, but you really gotta consider taking your time there, because it's not worth it to go fast through a sequence like that and then having to redo this mission, all because your plane gets stuck in the ground and explodes. So anyways, there's really not a whole lot else to say about this mission. It's very straightforward stuff. It's not really a race, it's more like a time trial type of thing, where you just have to collect the checkpoints the first time through, but on repeat playthroughs of this mission, if you're really that insane, or you really just love this mission that much, you'll have to beat your high score or your best time to complete the mission after your first time. So thankfully we don't have to worry about that. We just have to collect these checkpoints and go about our business afterwards. We don't have to worry about this ever again. It's going to be glorious stuff. But I will say that in the next part, though, we will be doing 2 different things. Ooh, a bit of a mashup coming on the horizon here, which would be the store robberies, which is something that wasn't seen again until Grand Theft Auto 5. But there are store robberies in this game, and there's 15 of them, and we'll be doing all 15 in the next part, and we'll also be doing the ammunition shooting range. So it should be a lot of fun, I think, and that's what we'll be doing in the next part. So until then, I will see you next time.